morning. Whoop, there we are.
Good morning.
Okay, we're gonna go ahead and get started. It's 9:04, so if we round down, it's still 9 a.m. We're good. All right, thanks for coming this morning. True story, transparency here. Who's here for the policies? Everyone's just here for pastries?
Yeah.
All right, hey, there we go. That's right. That was your first test in telling the truth. Come on. All right, my name is Lindsay Harriman. I am the Community Engagement Coordinator for Williams County, and I'm the chair of the policy committee for the chamber that organizes these policies and pastries events. We do have a few committee members here. If you guys want to raise your hand and say hello. You just have Raquel from the chambers in the back, and Meg and Miriam is here, and Paula is texting right now. But this is our second one in the series. We're bringing back what used to be called Eggs and Issues. After a while, we stopped serving eggs and people got mad, and so we shut it down. And then there was coffee and conversation, and then COVID happened, more things, and then now we're back with policies and pastries. We actually have pastries in the back thanks to a sponsorship from Western Region Economic Development. They are freshly made here from the Williston State College cafeteria, which is awesome. And then thanks to Montrell Williams as well for providing water today. It's on the tables in the back. So this is only our second one in the series, but we've started a trend where we do kick this off with trivia because we're trying to have fun at 9 o'clock in the morning on a Thursday. And this time we're playing for a Starbucks gift card and a sticker. Last time it was just a sticker, so we've upped the ante. All right, North Dakota's first legislative districts were not created by lawmakers arm wrestling over maps. Surprisingly. They came into existence in what year and by what method? 1861, when Dakota Territory drew provisional paper districts. 1889, written directly into the brand new state constitution. 1905, after the first statewide census. Or 1918, when voters demanded redistricting by ballot initiative.
D.
B. I think that was a Brenda. Do you guys want to arm wrestle or not? Okay, let Brenda. All right, good job.
Way to be a man.
Well, you thought wrong. So. All right. I don't actually know if this is true or not. ChatGPT told me it was, and then I fact-checked it with Chat, because I said, I think you're wrong. And it said it was, but which North Dakota political figure famously traveled the state campaigning in covered wagon to reinforce his prairie populist image? Usher Burdick, Bill Langer, Milton Young, or a horse named Ballot the Bronco?
C.
A. Is this true?
Yeah, but that was after people said B and C and you didn't say correct.
There you go. Put that in your back pocket. Isn't it Burdick Expressway? And isn't it? That's why I at least knew it was a real person.
His house is just a block west of us.
Huh?
Yeah.
Oh.
Usher Burdick used to live just a block west of there.
Ooh. Save that for the next time.
Yeah, this is where trivia needs to come from.
His house is up for sale right now.
Does it have more than 3 bedrooms and more than 1 bathroom?
It's a very nice home.
All right, so we're gathered here today for candidate readiness. 2026 is an election year for what sometimes is called midterm elections. We do have quite a few different local offices that will have seats on the ballot. People may be running for re-election, so it doesn't necessarily mean that there would be no one on the ballot, but the point is to be able to get the information out if you do want to run or learn more about an office or you want to sometime in the future. So we're very thankful that we actually have Secretary of State Michael Howe here today. The Secretary of State's office runs elections, businesses, all of the things. We're fortunate that Michael is here, all of the things. We're very fortunate that Michael is here in person. And then Commissioner Steve Kemp is here as well to kind of give his perspective on what it means to serve here locally. Steve is from Williston, has been a county commissioner for quite a few years, and will share some of that knowledge. So to do a quick overview, and there's a lot of information on this table as well, where Meg is standing. There's maps. There's the world's largest spreadsheet of all of the offices that are open and filing deadlines, all of those things. An overview of all the positions. And then for the county, the city of Williston, and the city of Williston Park Board, there's some additional information about what it means to actually be an elected official for those entities. So again, from a local standpoint, in Williams County, there will be three county commission seats on the ballot. Those are district-based. You do have to live in that district. Again, there's maps here, and I have a QR code in a minute. As well as the county auditor, the state's attorney, treasurer, recorder, which is a combined office in Williams County. That's not always the case. Some counties in North Dakota have a separate treasurer and recorder. Some have a combined treasurer and auditor. There's lots of different combinations there, but here in Williams County, that position is combined, and then the offices are co-located, and then the sheriff. The Williams County Soil Conservation District will also have a 6-year term supervisor on that ballot. And then the Williston Park Board will have 3 commissioners. 2 of them are actually 4-year terms, and 1 is a 2-year term. That's a typo. And then the city of Williston will have commission president, or what we call mayor, 2 commissioners, and a municipal judge. At the state level, the Williston area, Williams County, we now have 3 legislative districts. So all of District 1 is within Williams County, and then all of District 23 is in Williams County, and part of Williams County is in District 2. So because it's an odd numbered year district election year, I feel like there's an acronym for that doesn't exist yet, Districts 1 and 23 will be on the ballot. So each district has 1 senator and 2 representatives. And then on the statewide offices, Attorney General, Secretary of State, Agriculture Commissioner, and Tax Commissioner, and Public Service Commissioner. And correct me if I'm wrong here, Secretary Howe, there's 2 Public Service Commissioners because 1 has to be elected to finish a term, and then there's 1 that's whole. The 6 is wrong.
Yeah, the 1 Public Service Commissioner seat's going to be a 2-year term.
Yes.
And they'll be on the ballot again in 2020.
Should have had it as a trivia question. And then here's a QR code. This will take you to the Williams County GIS page that has the Find Your Legislator map. So if you don't actually know where you live and which district that you're in, some of us in the room may have moved last summer and didn't realize they changed legislative districts despite being on the redistricting committee for county commission districts. It's fine, it happens to all of us. So you can scan that, and again, there's paper copies over there. So I'll have, all right, so if Commissioner Kemp and Secretary Howe want to come up, we will go ahead and get started. Oh, and I would be remiss to not mention
Oh, yeah, thank you.
the sticker contest. This is your chance to be an artist and design the next I Voted sticker. Flyers are over there, QR code to enter. Are you allowed to enter? Are you judging it?
I am the judge. Well, here we go. So just some background on this. The Association of Counties ran the first sticker contest back in 2020. Now our office is taking that contest on. And it's open to anybody, any North Dakota resident, whether you're 2 days old or 220 years old. And you can be creative however you see it in your own eye and submit that online on our website, sos.indy.gov. And you have until November 15th. After November 15th, a panel will narrow the entries down to like 3 or 5. And then come January, it's going to be open up for a statewide vote. That will be done online. And then in March, we have our March auditor election training every election year at the Capitol, at the Heritage Center. So we'll bring the winning artist on stage, have a big grand unveiling, framed portrait, and it'll be hung in the Capitol. And then those stickers will be distributed to each county, then to give out at the June 9th primary election, and then also at the November general election. So a fun idea our team thought of. How do we get people civically engaged? We've got a ton of creative people in this state. Again, you don't need to be a qualified elector to participate. So like I said, kids, like I said, if you're 200 years old, if you can draw, please enter. We've seen there's been a lot of good entries so far. Some creative, some saying, oh, I don't know how they really came up with that idea, but Regardless of your skill level, participate. It's fun. If you have a nephew, a niece, daughter, son, granddaughter, whomever, put this on the radar. They have until November 15th. It's a good way just as a reminder that there is an election coming up in June and then of course in November.
But the real question is there a parade once the winner is selected?
I mean, is there a parade? I mean, it depends. Maybe your hometown will throw you a parade. There will be no parade sponsored by the North Dakota Secretary of State's office.
Thanks for putting that on the record.
No new parade.
All right, so Secretary Howe actually originally has also served in the state representative. He served for District 22 prior to becoming Secretary of State. In his second legislative session, he was appointed to the House Appropriations Committee and served as chairman of the Interim Government Finance Committee. So again, he knows all the things, do all the things. And as Secretary of State, he also served on the following state boards: Board of University and School Lands, Emergency Commission, State Historical Board, State Canvassing Board, and the Theodore Roosevelt Rough Rider Award. Again, all the things. That's the important part.
Most of them.
Yes. So we're again very thankful to have him here today in Bismarck, or from Bismarck, to be able to cover the fun rules of running a campaign, filing for candidacy, what a petition means, and we'll go ahead and let you take it away.
Yeah, well, thank you. Thanks everyone for being here. Those online, thank you for participating. I've got 40 different duties in my portfolio as Secretary of State. And chief amongst them is I'm the chief election official for the state of North Dakota. So we oversee the state's elections with major assistance from all 53 counties and their county auditors or their election boards or whoever they have in charge of that. And I have to just give a shout out to the folks in Williams County. Thank you. You guys do a fantastic job. You're always there to support us. You're there to support your other colleagues across the state. Just give it up for them. That's not an easy task. They also don't only do elections either. They have a ton of stuff on their plate. So truly, thank you for what you guys do. Yeah, thank you. I wasn't gonna make you stand up. I'm just gonna pause for you.
They're not listening to me.
So our office, election night, it's a busy time. We're getting results coming in after the polls close. Some areas at 7 p.m., some areas it's 8 p.m. And then we certify at the state level legislative races, statewide contests, statewide ballot questions. County races are certified by the county, and then city races and school boards, those are certified at those jurisdictions. So same thing, just running for office. If you want to run for a city commission or city council spot, you would put that filing paperwork with the filing officer, which would be the city auditor. If you want to run for a county race, you file with the county auditor. And then likewise at the state level, if you want to run for the state legislature or a statewide office, the Secretary of State's office is the filing officer there. So we've got the June 9th primary coming up. The filing deadline, and this is across the state, is April 6th at 4 p.m. Not 4:01, at 4 p.m. If you show up at 4:01, our office, county offices, city, school, they will tell you, sorry, you missed the deadline. So there's plenty of time between now and April 6th at 4 p.m. To decide if you would like to do this. We've got a handy dandy sheet on our website. It's also at that table over here of what the qualifications are to run for those certain offices. You must be a qualified elector of the state of North Dakota. What does that mean? You must be 18 years old, a North Dakota resident, and a United States citizen. Those are the qualifications to vote, qualifications to run for office. To run for the residency requirements now differ. There's a 5-year residency requirement for statewide office. It's 30 days to run for a legislative seat. So, and this did happen last time in 2024. There was a candidate for the state legislature not residing in their legislative district when they filed their paperwork. But they were moving, and they were going to be a resident for at least 30 days prior to the general election. So that candidate didn't win, but that was how they were able to get on the ballot. So I highlight that because double check of what the qualifications are. Can you meet the residency requirements? And then there's age requirements too. Of course, for the U.S. Senate seat, which isn't on the ballot, but for Congress, for statewide, there are residency requirements. For county offices, I believe it's 18 years old. I'd have to go and double check that. But again, all this information can be found on the Secretary of State's website or your filing officer at the county, city, school. So how to get on the ballot. Most jurisdictions, or all jurisdictions I should say, you can do this by petition. For statewide partisan races, you can get certificates of endorsement. So for a legislative seat, there's two avenues to get on the ballot. You can go out and get 1% of your district's population signatures. So every legislative district has about 16,500 people residing in that district. That means they need approximately 165 signatures to get on the ballot. You can seek a party endorsement. The two political parties that have ballot access in North Dakota is the Democrat Party and the Republican Party. Those local districts hold endorsing conventions, and those are run by the political parties of those local districts under their rules, their guidance, not by the Secretary of State's office. But if you receive that district's political endorsement, you receive an endorsement certificate, that can place you on the ballot. And then of course for statewide, same thing. You can get 300 signatures statewide or seek that political party's endorsement at their state convention. So there's a couple different avenues for that ballot access. I went over the filing deadline, 4 p.m. If you want to run as an independent candidate for a partisan race, that filing deadline would be August 31st. And so that would be for a legislative race or a statewide race if you want to run as an independent. Again, we would be the Secretary of State's office as the filing officer for that. I can't remember, Lindsay, if you put Department of Public Instruction up there for a statewide race that would be available. Superintendent Baszler is waiting for the government to reopen, and she will take her seat at the Department of Education. Levi Bachmeyer has been appointed, but he can't officially take the reins yet until Superintendent Baszler resigns. And then I've spoken to Levi. I know he'll seek finishing out that 2-year unexpired term for Superintendent of Public Instruction, but that will be another seat that's on the ballot. There will be a 2-year unexpired term to fill out Superintendent Baszler's term, and then we'll be on the ballot once again in 2028 for that full 4-year term. Lindsay, I feel like I've been rambling there. There's a lot of information here. Any questions you may have, anything I'm missing? Petitions, if for city races, county races, state law says you must get a complete residential address on your petition. So you will print your name, you'll sign it, and then the complete residential address. So that's 1234 4th Avenue Northwest. Williston, North Dakota. What's your zip code here in Williston? Yeah. Is that part of the trivia?
58801.
58801. So that is a complete residential address. So if you are thinking about running for office and you're going that petition route, be very thorough with the people you're asking to sign your petition. One, let them know what you're running for, make that very clear. And also make sure they're filling out their signature with the complete residential address. Even those directional indications on your resident address, if that's not on there, that's not a complete residential address, that signature should not count. So just be very clear if you're out petitioning or you have people helping you with those petition efforts. Have the signers know that they need to fill out it in its full completion.
Right, sorry, we do only have one microphone, so this will be all. And if you have questions in the audience, we'll pass it out there as well. So on the note of the petition, what are the constraints for being able to get signatures? Can you leave it on the counter at a business and have people fill it out? Are you allowed to go door to door? How are you actually allowed to gather
Do
these?
they have to be a certain age?
Yeah, so There's different rules. So we've all heard about the initiated measure process in North Dakota, the statutory initiated measure, constitutional initiated measure. Those must be witnessed by someone. For a candidate signature, those don't have to be witnessed by anybody for the signature. So theoretically, I don't recommend this. But you could leave your signature packet somewhere and have people sign it. I don't recommend that because, just as I said, you might run into problems of, oh shoot, I guess I didn't know what I was signing, or I didn't know I don't live here in this jurisdiction where this candidate is seeking office. If you have someone there explaining what they're signing, going through that complete residential address process, it's much more clean, and you're gonna have much more success that way too. And then, I've never been asked, I'm sure our election team is probably watching this online and cringing, but I'm fairly certain you need to be a qualified elector to gather signatures for office.
So tell us about campaign finance. Can someone just start passing a hat, gathering cash, and put it in their pocket to start buying yard signs, or what's the recommended route there?
Yeah, campaign finance, that's another thing. We've got a handout specifically tailored to political subdivisions. Legislative races and statewide races, it's a little more thorough. It's done online at the Secretary of State's website. For local political subdivisions, that's all done on paper and filed with your filing officer. So again, if you're running for a county seat, you're putting your campaign finance information with your county auditor, city business manager, school board, school business manager. To answer your question, can you just pass around a hat? It's not that simple. If you want to run for office and you start soliciting funds, you start spending funds for a political purpose, you must register and make your filing officer aware that, hey, I've started, Michael Howe for mayor of Mars, I am out soliciting funds. And then you'd have a year-end report. So like, let's say you leave this meeting and you're super fired up to run for office. You'd have to notify your filing officer, and then by January 31st of 2026, you'll have to file a year-end campaign finance report. You'll have to report everything you received over $200. If it's $200, you can report that just in aggregate, but you don't have to itemize it. So if you gave me $201, it'd say Lindsay gave me $201, and that's on my year-end report. As we get into the election year then, you'll have a pre-primary report. And so that would be everything you have raised and spent between January 1st, 2026, and I think that finance deadline's the end of April. I can't remember the exact date, but that can also be found on our website. And then there's 48-hour reporting. And that's anything you've received over $500. And you have to report that within a 48-hour period between that pre-primary report and the date of the primary election, June 9th. Now as we move into the general election, if you advance to the general, once again, you'll have a pre-general report, which is due the end of September. Again, that's everything over $200. You have to file with your filing officer. And then you'd have another 48-hour reporting period before the general election. And then to finish out the 2026 election year, you'd file that in January of 2027. I know I made that sound super daunting and super confusing. I promise you it's not. We've got very reasonable, loose probably isn't the right term. We're not as strict as maybe some other states as far as campaign finance and the amount of times you have to report for campaign finance. But it's also important. No one wants, being transparent about your campaign is a good thing. Where you're spending your money, how you're spending your money. Don't be scared to tell people that, hey, I've got a lot of support. People want to see me succeed. Campaigns do cost money. Yard signs are not cheap. Advertisements in newspapers, social media advertisements. You want to get your message out there to show folks, I'm fit for the job. These are my ideas. This is what I can do to represent you. And then telling folks how you're paying for that, that's nothing to shy away from. So I promise you, talk to your filing officer again about campaign finance. They'll give a much more thorough and detailed view of it. We've got, again, handouts on our website. The counties will have access to those too. It's just part of the process, part of of being transparent about your campaign.
Does that count as taxable income then?
The question was, does it count as taxable
It's
income?
not. And I guess I could help answer that. If you're receiving money for, again, Michael Howe, for mayor for Mars, you can only use it for that political purpose. It can't be used, to buy a boat. It can't be used to buy a lawnmower. It has to be for a political purpose.
If you have access money that you didn't spend on the campaign, then what can you do with that?
The-
Just return it to donors or how, what are you?
The question was, if you have money that you raised during the campaign but didn't spend it all, what do you do with the rest of it?
So once again, it's that now that's political money. So you have to use it for a political purpose now. So you can't give it back to the donor. You could contribute that to another campaign. There's nothing against the rules that you can't coordinate with the donor and say, hey, now I've got this political money I lost. Is there anywhere you'd like me to see that money go for a political purpose?
So it's essentially donor money.
Yeah, it's political money in your possession, which can only be used for a political purpose. Yep.
How does it work if, so the election year is 2026, if can you raise funds in 2024, 2025, and how does that impact the reporting process?
Yeah, the question was, can you raise funds in off-election years? The answer is yes. In off-election years, though, when you're not on the ballot, there is no pre-general report, there is no 48-hour reporting, there's no pre-primary report. You would just have that year-end report. So for example, 2025, where this is an off-election year, you can be raising those funds. You would just have to report what you did in January of 2026 for that off year. So certainly you have to have, accounting and keeping track of all that, but you're not reporting it several times throughout the year. You're only doing that in January of the year following that off year. And you can start filing those reports January 1st through January 31st. So any political campaign finance information that you did in 2025 will be filed in January of 2026.
And then, what is the difference for the pros and cons of a candidate having their own election campaign account versus a committee?
So the question was pros and cons between a campaign or a candidate having their own account or a committee. I'm sure there's some differences right now. Off the top of my head, I can't give that to you, Corey. Let me look back, at what state law says. There's a reason for it. I just can't give that to you right now. So certainly, let's touch base and we can mail that out in the back.
What if all the donations are small dollar less than 200?
So the question was, what if all the donations are less than $200? So you wouldn't itemize those. You wouldn't say, hey, I got $50 from Michael or $25 from Erica. You would put, I raised an aggregate amount of $3,000. And then there'd be a bucket of, but all the contributions were less than $200. Likewise, if you're running for office and you have nothing to report, you have to report that. So even if you're running for a local office and you're like, I'm not raising money for this, and this is very common, you still have to fill out a campaign finance report that indicates you didn't raise any money, you didn't spend any money. You still have to file that report regardless.
What if you self-fund, like you don't campaign for money?
Yeah, if you self-fund, and this is where the law, again, I don't like to say the word loose, but flexible, yeah, maybe that's a kind way to say it. What I like to do, like if, I for accounting purposes, I have paid for stuff with my own money, but then I use that as a contribution to myself and denote that on my campaign finance report. If you are self-funding, like if you're driving, let's say you're running for a statewide office and you're traveling from Williston to Fargo, and you paid for gas out of your own personal account, but you're driving for a political purpose, technically that should be accounted, but again, it's your own personal money. Maybe you visited your aunt in Fargo too. So then that's where it's flexible. Now, if someone gave you money to make that trek to Fargo, obviously you'd have to report that.
And just to point out too, in terms of a primary versus a general election, the statewide and the legislative races and county commission are on the ballot for both the primary and the general. And then the city commission and Williston Park Board, those are just on the primary. We don't have any school this year. Yep. Yeah, we don't have any school board elections this year, but yeah, for just the city park and the cities, only for that June election. And again, the world's largest spreadsheet is over there with all the filing deadlines. And then if you are into brief information and QR codes, there's other reference information there too, and a whole separate handout you brought too on campaign finance, yes. I think, right?
Yep.
Yes. And then in terms of the filing offices, again, statewide and legislative is the Secretary of State's office, County Commission, and the Soil Conservation District is the Williams County Auditor's Office. And then the City of Williston and City Park Board and Williston Park Board is the City of Williston Finance Department.
And we get a lot of questions the week of the election and on election day about campaign signs. State law says you can't be campaigning within 100 feet of a polling location. That's not very far. There was an old law that you can't do any campaigning on election day. That is no longer the case. You can have TV ads up, you can have yard signs up, but check with your political subdivision. You may have home rule charter rules that apply to political signage, either distance from polling locations, whether they're on the boulevard or not. Look into that, because they may vary from city to city, from county to county, through home rule charter.
Any other questions for Secretary Howe right now? This won't be a hold your peace forever, but. All right, we'll go ahead and pass the mic down to Commissioner Steve Kemp. He represents District 2 in Williams County, which is kind of part of the city of Williston and then a little bit south of it. Commissioner Kemp lives in the ETJ, so he has the best of all the worlds, just like Secretary Howe has all the things. So we'll pass this along to Steve to talk a little bit about what it means to serve as a public official.
And you want me to just start right off with that?
Start right off with that.
Well, what I really enjoy about being a county commissioner is the fact that it's a nonpartisan position, and I think that there was a lot of wisdom from the state in creating local races that are nonpartisan, because you get to skip all of the political garbage and go right into doing real work, and so there's no specific political influence that has to bear down on you and force you to go a certain direction. We just focus on getting the job done. And I think that's brilliant, really, in a local setting where you know the people that are living right next door to you, and you're making decisions based on those people. And so I think it's that's one thing I really do appreciate about being a county commissioner. County commission is an interesting position too, from the standpoint that it is very local, very, very geared towards making decisions that affect people. And in the first meeting I was in, we had planning and zoning that meeting, and we were setting aside land for the east bypass, and I had friends in the audience that were there opposing setting aside that land that they couldn't develop. And I had to make a decision that, do we waste $5 million of state tax money and not set that aside through all the environmental work that had been done? Or do I make my friends happy? And I made my friends unhappy. And I went home and told my wife, I said, well, I just made 30% of my friends unhappy. And the next meeting, it'll be the next 30%. And by the third meeting, I'll have pretty much all my friends pissed off. So it is, so that could be a challenge, and that was planning and zoning from a county commissioner perspective is probably the toughest part of the job, because you do make decisions that impact people's lives, And some of those decisions can be very heartfelt for those people that are affected by those decisions. And so that is the most challenging part that I find with being a county commissioner. But most of it is incredibly rewarding, and even the planning and zoning can be rewarding. It is a challenge, though, I would say. But my favorite thing that I do is I get to work with Lindsay and economic development, and that's really my passion. I'm an entrepreneur, and economic development's a big thing for me, and inspiring new and interesting businesses and opportunities within the county is incredibly rewarding. And so I would encourage people to definitely look at running for county commission. It's a great job, and it doesn't have to be political, but you have to make tough decisions, and it's interesting work every day.
So, for any local office that may be available, why did you decide to run to begin with? What did you wake up one day and say, boy, can't wait to serve the public? Or was there a little bit more that went into that?
That's a great question. I lived in District 2, and I actually worked for Williams County years ago as an IT person. And so I got to see all the different departments within the county from a very unique perspective, like seeing how they work and trying to help them do their job. And so I felt like I got a good understanding of how county government worked. And so being that I worked for Dan Galow, and Dan was District 2 County Commissioner, I wasn't ever going to run against him, but when he announced he was retiring and not going to run again, I reached out to him and asked if it was okay if I ran, if he would be okay with that. And of course, he had to have a meeting with me, and we sat down and talked about it, and of course, then he supported me, and I ran. And that was really the impetus behind doing it. I always felt like I could be a county commissioner because I felt like I had a good understanding of all the different departments, and I had kind of a rounded thought process and kind of understood how it worked. And I thought I could do some good. And so that was really the impetus behind it. It wasn't, I would not encourage anybody to run on if they're mad about something. One particular thing, if they're a single issue and they're upset about it and they want to run just to change that one thing, that's probably not the best approach. But anyway, I would encourage people to run if they're dedicated and interested in doing the public good.
So Steve mentioned meeting with the commissioner that was seated at that time to learn a little bit more about that position. If that, I think that's a good piece of advice to be able to figure out how things work. Again, some of the information that's on that table has information about who's sitting in that seat now, if you don't already know, or if that person has said that they're not running again, to be able to talk with them, or ask staff, staff or previous elected officials. And again, even if you don't think you're going to run next year, just trying to build that local interest in serving the public. One of the other things that's on the world's largest spreadsheet is the regular meeting schedule for all of the entities. There are regular public meetings. So Steve, do you want to talk a little bit about how time consuming is it to be a commissioner? How many meetings?
Oh, the meetings. There are just the two that are scheduled, but then of course there's lots of in between meetings, and then you get put on committees, and then you get involved in this. And what I would say is when I first started, I thought, boy, this isn't that bad. I mean, I'm fortunate. I own my own business, and I'm my own boss, and I have a lot of support, with me, with my company. And so I had a little bit of this time that I could give to serving. But quickly, within the first few months, you start getting more engaged and more active and feeling like you got your feet on the ground and learning more about the job. And as you engage more, you get involved more, you get put on more committees. And so it's a significant amount of time. And specifically with economic development, we didn't have economic development when I first got on in 2016. And that only came about when, 3 years ago. And so really since that started, the time engagement that I've had has been significantly more. We meet with people all the time. We just had meetings this week with with potential opportunities, and we meet frequently with the North Dakota Department of Commerce and discussing all the big projects that we have going on up here, and we're very fortunate to have. So that's, as you progress, after you get elected, it tends to kind of steamroll, and you get more and more and more involved and get drug in on more things, the more interest you show, and the knowledge that you have in the background that you have.
Any other questions?
Can I add
Yeah.
something?
Uh-huh.
So I ran for the legislature in 2016, and I was 29 years old at the time. I did not know everything. I still don't know everything. And so when you make the decision to run for office, talking with other first-time candidates or people are like, I don't know anything about that. Well, of course you don't. No one does. So don't let that put fear into you not running for office because I don't know anything about all the stuff Steve just mentioned. Your job is to learn more about that stuff and then listen to the people you represent and make the best decision on their behalf. Certainly you're going to have your own expertise that you can bring to the table, but you're not going to know everything. Like, I didn't know the question Corey asked, but I'm going to find it out and get back to it. So don't let that fear of, I don't know anything about any of that. Don't let that dissuade you. If you have an interest in wanting to represent people, give back to the public, consider it. But just because you're not an expert on everything, you're not alone. No one is.
So then, question for both of you. We'll pass this down. What has been the most surprising part of serving as an elected official?
Yeah.
The most surprising part to me, and it kind of piggybacks off what I just said, giving back is awesome. It's helping people is such a good feeling. People are calling you not because they just want to chat. They have a need, or they have a concern, or they have a question. And if you can help answer it, whether how difficult or as simple as it is, you're helping someone work through the government process, or even guiding them to the right resource. But the most surprising thing, I'm going to be very selfish here, is how much I've learned. Running for the state legislature, that first legislative session, it's like a 400 level crash course on everything North Dakota. You have the opportunity to learn about every industry, every part of our economy, learn about the challenges from children all the way up to the elderly, whether it's wealthy people, whether it's low-income people. I learned a lot about all that stuff in my first legislative session. And so selfishly, maybe that was my biggest surprise of how much I gained in that. And then also finding ways to give back and then taking that knowledge and utilizing it in other areas and becoming expert in areas that I had no interest in.
Thank God you went first. What I would piggyback on that, because one of the questions I would get, I would concur that you get calls from people that are concerned about various things, and one call in particular that I got was from a concerned citizen about a motor grader. I know nothing about motor graders and grading gravel roads, and it's a big part of what counties do, but it's just not my expertise, right? And so as you're considering running, again, you don't have to be that expert, but this particular phone call, the guy said, I was following that grader and he's doing 12 miles an hour, and I was like, is that a problem? Is that bad? I had no idea, and he's like, you're an idiot, and he hung up on me. But he's a friend of mine, so he could do that. But yeah, that's, you don't have to be an expert. I'm no expert on roads. I depend on my fellow commissioners who absolutely know that to take their knowledge and understanding of that part of the process and lean into it and go with what they say if I agree with it and not if I don't. But yeah, that is the never be afraid of not knowing everything about what you're getting into if you're running for office. I would definitely concur with that.
All right, any other questions? Questions, comments, anything else either of you would like to add?
Running for office is it's an intimidating thing to think about. Campaigning is an intimidating thing to think about. And there's different ways to go about doing it. The most effective way I found was going out and meeting people, talking to them. When I ran for the legislature, I lived in mostly a rural district in Cass County. We had 11 school districts in my legislative district, and we pounded the pavement, knocked on doors. And I can tell you the worst part about door knocking is thinking about door knocking. But once you're out there, it's awesome. 1 in every 100 doors you knock, you'll get someone who has something to say to you. But overwhelmingly, it's a positive experience. Even people that might not even vote for you, having that conversation, hearing their concerns, that's what really sets you up for success. That if you're fortunate enough that people put their trust in you to win and take office, you can call back to, oh, I had that conversation on that doorstep in Buffalo, North Dakota. You build those connections that way. So again, campaigning, the worst part about campaigning is thinking about it. Once you're out there doing it, it really is enjoyable.
Yeah, I would concur with that. My biggest challenge that I have in the 3 times that I've run has been getting the petitions signed. That's the hardest part for me, is asking people to do something for me. And door knocking is something I did not do. The one time I went out to do it, it started raining, and I thought, all right, I guess I can't do that. So I leaned into social media for my campaigns. It's a little different for county commission or local races versus, statewide or legislative districts. So, but yeah, that was my biggest challenge, but just get out there and do it. And I learned the hard way that I think you do have to be 18 to go out and collect signatures for you. I had a young, ambitious gentleman who was not 18, he was under 18, and I had to throw those signatures away. But he went out and just nailed it. I mean, he went and got a ton of signatures, and it's not onerous as a county commissioner. I think let's just say it's 40 signatures, or probably more than that, but it wasn't terrible, but you still got to talk to 40 people. And even though I'm sociable, I hate asking people for something. And even as simple as a signature. So, but encourage you to get out there and do it.
And Lindsay, so before we started, we talked about term limits. And there's term limits now in the state legislature. And regardless of what your thoughts are on term limits, they're here. I don't think they're going away. I think all of North Dakota needs to embrace that as an opportunity. And think about who you socialize with, what other organizations you're with. We're a state of 780,000 people, and we've got 11 statewide elected offices. You got your Supreme Court you elect, you've got district court people you elect, you've got 53 counties and their county commissions. I don't know how many incorporated cities we have with city councilors or city commissions. You've got X amount of school board people you have to elect, you have X amount of park board people you have to elect. For 780,000 people, we have to elect a lot of folks. And now we're churning out people in the legislature at an 8-year clip. Let's embrace that. But it's incumbent on all of us, whether you're Republican, Democrat, independent, involved in an agriculture association, involved in an energy association, a nonprofit group. Identify those folks. You're like, have you ever thought about running for office? Because eventually we're all going to have to take our turn. Just the nature of the beast. And that's okay. I think that's exciting. So if you take anything away from today, if it's not yourself running for office, put in the back of your mind, identify those folks, but you should really consider this at whatever level. And I haven't even now talked about the different organizations that aren't elected, that people need membership for. So a state of 780,000 people, we're all going to have to take our turn, and let's embrace that.
So what you're saying is that there's lots of ways to get involved that don't involve just sitting on your keyboard on the internet?
Well, if I could add to that too, Lindsay. Our next statewide election is June 9th. Primary elections have awful turnout, terrible turnout. And in this particular primary election, we don't have a US Senate seat on the ballot, we don't have the governor on the ballot. The last time this happened was 2014. It comes up every 12 years. In the June primary of 2014, we had 17% statewide turnout. This is where you're electing your city folks, and the only time they're on the ballot is we're electing school people. Sometimes there's constitutional questions on that primary ballot, and only 17% of the people are showing up. If you don't want to run for office, let someone know, hey, are you voting in the June primary? That's how we all can be civically engaged too. And that, again, that's incumbent on all of us. And so that's my plug. And then, of course, in November as well, a midterm election. President's not on the ballot. We're going to have very low turnout again. All the elections have consequences. Elections have meaning, and it's our duty to elect our friends and neighbors and participate in the process.
And so, on that note too, for voting and voting availability, January 1st is when you can start filling out your absentee ballot application for next year as well. Every year you do have to refill out that application to be able to get an absentee ballot. So, if you're going to be in Jamaica on June 9th next year and not be able to go to the polls, or in November, sometimes it snows. We don't really like to go outside sometimes when it snows, especially if there's ice. But again, January 1st, you can start filling out your application for the absentee ballot, and then that's when you can start collecting signatures as well. So, all right, one last ask for any questions. All right, well, thanks for coming today. We have the room until 10:30, so please feel free to stay, visit with folks that are here, eat the pastries, and talk more policy. And thank you so much again for coming and for your time today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was fun.
Nice job.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, thanks.